Hey everyone, this is Zachary Comeau, Executive Editor of CE Pro. Today I'm joined by Kathleen Thomas, the Head of Integration Sales at Sony. Kathleen, thanks for stopping in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, you guys always have one of my favorite booths at CEDIA. It's just an incredible AV experience when you walk in the Sony booth. So what do you guys have in store for us this year in Denver?
We put a lot of work into it and a lot of thought, right? It's not just about showing our latest and greatest product for us. Especially this year, we really wanted to focus on what does Sony mean to the CI industry and to CEDIA. Sony was really foundational to the beginning of CEDIA and has been engaged with the CI channel from honestly before the beginning of what we think of as CI. And so we really wanted to kind of bring together that idea of our history in the channel as well as our deep partnerships in the channel. So we're doing something a little bit different this year. Of course, we're going to have all of our TVs. We're also going to have a really great demo of our Bravia 7 projector. But really the two cornerstones of the booth this year is one, we are celebrating 60 years of ES. So 60 years of Sony's elevated standard sub-brand, which is very exciting. And also, we really wanted to celebrate the partnerships that we've built over the years in the channel. And so our big CLED theater, which we did our first CLED video wall theater last year, we're really taking it up a level this year. And we invited all of our friends, at least most of our friends. We could only cram so many friends in the room. We invited as many friends as we could get into the room to partner with us in the theater and really show off and really recreate what a dealer does every day, right? Which is, take the best of what is out there in the industry in terms of different components for the customer and bring it all together. And so that was really our goal with that room, as well as really show the CLED, because one of the big strengths of video wall is that you can have it in a space like a media room with windows and things like that. So for example, we're actually recreating that space. We're using Liquid View, which is a really innovative product that actually uses Sony panels, and they also use Sony cameras to capture the images, and recreating a windowscape in the space, as well as using Leon framing TVs to showcase artwork just like you would have in your living room. So really doing some interesting, unique touches that honestly only Sony can do in terms of bringing together the partnerships.
Yeah, can we talk a little bit more about those partnerships? Could you just name a few others and how they enhance
Name drop.
Oh yeah, let's name drop. Let's talk about how they enhance the Sony CLED display and the 7000 ES receiver experience.
Yeah, so I will try to remember all of them.
Right.
So we have Stuart providing this screen, Leon providing the frames around the TVs as well as the CLED. So they're going to have a really cool frame around the CLED. Wisdom Audio is providing the audio, great partners. Liquid View, who I already mentioned, recreating that window using Sony Pro panels as well as Sony cameras to capture the images. DMF providing the lighting, Crestron providing control, and last but definitely not least, I think I'm really hoping I'm not forgetting somebody, Cinematech providing the furniture, and they're fantastic partners of ours that we've built a beautiful showroom down in Florida with. And so really, again, that idea of, we're providing, of course, the televisions in the room as well as the CLED for the theater, and the head unit will be the AZ7000 ES receiver, and really showing how Sony fits beautifully into that package of products that are really some of the best in the industry that
Mm.
our dealers bring into people's homes, day after day.
One of those products being the ES line, as you said, celebrating 60 years this year. To what do you guys owe that longevity? And what does that say about Sony's commitment to this channel?
Yeah, well, I would say when ES first started 60 years ago, the world was a little bit different. You were really kind of on the cusp of that two-channel boom, really, that, changed how we view performance. And, I think all of us, I come from the audio side of the world. We all kind of harken back to, those days, in the 60s and 70s when, everybody had a nice stereo, right? And that was really the foundation of what Sony was really having those high performance music systems, and we were really on the forefront of a lot of that technology. But that said, as the world progressed and changed and we went to more multi-channel, new technologies emerged on the market, Sony was there with their ES line at every stage and really taking what the fundamentals of that we knew to be true in terms of building our mainline products, but saying like, look, let's have this little kind of experiment where we figure out how to make things better. How do we make things more reliable? How do we make it sound better? How do we really push the edge of that technology? And I think the fact that what really originated as a high performance audio product that's kind of merged into being such a strong part of the CI industry, I think really is a testament to the strength of CI in terms of really being that leader in terms of performance,
Mm.
as well as really being that leading edge of technology.
Excellent. So let's talk about the ES line today in the 7000 receiver. What makes that so great? Why is it such a strong fit for today's integration projects?
Yeah, I think first of all, going back to what I was just talking about, the origins of ES being a high-end two-channel product, right? I'm an audio nerd. I've spent a lot of my career working with really like high-end speaker designers, electronics designers and things like that. And I have to tell you, their rooms are always an interesting place and more of like kind of a mad scientist den.
Yeah.
And so I have to tell you, coming from that world and then going to Tokyo and seeing that these
Mm.
products were not designed by kind of clean room engineers. They're not standing there in
Yeah.
lab coats,
Right.
and on computers. These are guys with, just like the speaker designers, electronics designers I've worked with. They have their bins of capacitors that they're rummaging through, making sure that the capacitor that they choose isn't to meet a spec. There's lots of things that will meet a spec, but they want the one that sounds the best, right? So, really going through that extra level of detail and care, to make sure that it absolutely performs as best as possible. Even going down to reformulating the solder that we use on the AZ7000, so that it's really giving the best performance. The level of detail they went into that piece,
Mm.
when you look at what you're getting for the money, it's pretty amazing in terms of how high it punches above its weight class. But then always also understanding the other side of it. Growing up in the industry, Sony ES always stood for reliability, and you knew that they were a tank. We don't give a 5-year warranty because we're super nice people. We give it because honestly, it's easy to stand by because the product is so reliable. And the truth is, no matter how great they make it sound, the best sounding product is the one that turns on. So we want to make sure that also it's also reliable and consistent. And then on top of it, how we work with those partners, back to that idea of partnership, we really, really closely partner with all of the major integration partners. And we don't just publish our API and say, hey boys, go for it. We actually send them real product and make sure that it has the absolute most robust and reliable control feature set that we can.
Excellent. So pivoting away from audio, let's talk about the Bravia 7 projector. Yeah, how does that bring that XR processor technology to a $10,000 projector price point, while still maintaining that CEDIA level performance?
Yeah, so this projector has been a bit of an emotional roller coaster. I'll be honest with you, right?
Oh,
When we were first told about it, one of the things we really wanted to do was, not only bring a new level of performance, but we really wanted to bring lens memory to a lower price point for us. And so when we first were talking about the 7,000, and I found out it didn't have lens memory, I'll be honest with you, I was kind of bummed. But in working with the product and what we've been able to do, which is actually something better than lens memory in terms of once it's integrated into a system, it actually has a little mini like scaler built into it, so we can actually change aspect ratio on the fly without an outboard processor, without lens memory. And so that just having that feature is, I think, a really, really great step up for all of our integrators to be able to do that. But then when I saw it, it's so good. Adding the XR processor to that form factor that the 5000 has, it's it's not a tiny step up, because what the XR processor does is it really allows us to frame by frame tone map the image. So we're really analyzing each and every frame and squeezing every bit of performance that we can out of that image, which is also honestly, that's what the Bravia 8 and Bravia 9 projectors do as well. But to get that at that $10,000 price point, it truly is, I think, something that the market needed that we didn't even really know it needed, which was not another light cannon, not something that, okay, we're going to crank the brightness up to 11, but most theaters are in that 120 to 150 inch screen size range. So why don't we have a really, really high performance projector for those moderate screen sizes? And that's truly what this is. So it's really giving somebody that, hey, I don't have a huge theater, but I want the best. That is absolutely going to get you the absolute best, when you have, a moderately sized theater.
excellent. Speaking of really cool display technology, and this has been in the news a little bit lately.
Yep.
Let's talk about RGB technology and what you folks are doing with that, and how that would influence the next generation of premium displays.
Yeah, so RGB is really, really exciting. And we're really talking about, as big of a leap forward as 4K was, in terms of performance. And I think that, the market has been really, really thirsty to have, that new technology. And, it's funny because, I think people have noticed that, like, the past couple of years, Sony's been putting a lot more emphasis on their mini LED product. And that's not by accident. It's not
Mm.
that QD OLED is not amazing. It's not that the Bravia 8 Mark II does not in every single way deserve King of TV. It is the best of the best of the best. But the runway in terms of what we're able to do with mini LED going forward is truly, truly remarkable. And in terms of what we are able to do at Sony with this technology is honestly light years ahead of what everybody else is going to be capable of doing. And there's
Mm.
evidence of that in the products that we've been building. So, for example, the Bravia 9, which is our flagship mini LED. we at launch and also at CEDIA last year did a pretty cool demo where we actually took off the LED panel and had you just look at the backlight with sunglasses on because it's insanely bright. But we are able to have 22-bit control in each individual zone on our backlight, which really enables you have that panel peeled off. You can actually see the image. If there's an owl on the screen, you're seeing an owl through the backlight, right? Which really, that tight control has allowed us to dramatically reduce blooming, and it enables us to drive the panel harder because we can control each individual zone much more discreetly. And it's really akin to having a very fine-tuned dimmer as opposed to a light switch on the backlight, having that level of control. So now we're able to take that level of control that nobody else on the market has to the next level by having that backlight actually be RGB, which means that you're able to dramatically increase your color volume, right? Because now the panel is in color. You're also dramatically improving off-axis viewing because what you're seeing off-axis is you're seeing more of the backlight than you are the panel, and so that's why the colors always get a bit wonky. You're not going to have that bleeding or blooming. I'm sorry, is essentially the backlight kind of bleeding through the image. We already dramatically contained that with the Bravia 9 with that super level of control, now even more so. And the level of control we're going to have, the bits in terms of control is going to dramatically increase as well. So we're really talking about, we had a couple of evolutionary products, but in terms of what you're going to be seeing in the next year is truly revolutionary products that we're going to have on the market, and also allow us to extend beyond the size range that we currently have as well. So it's going to be an incredibly exciting adventure next year, as we introduce all these products into the world. That's why we're talking about it so early, because it's really, we need to get ready for the revolution, because it's definitely going to be the year of mini LED for sure.
And will we see any of these, specifically these RGB innovations at CEDIA?
Unfortunately, we won't have it on the floor at CEDIA. We're going to be, talking about it. It'll be part of our presentation. Unfortunately, there were multiple events happening the same week, and so we were not able to get the prototype for the floor. But we will be talking a lot about it, and we will be having a lot of activities around it in the next few months. So we'll make sure that we have plenty of opportunity for everyone to engage with the product. And I promise you, this is the marshmallow test, right? Because you might see some products. Ours is really going to be worth the wait in terms of what we are going to be able to do. Sony is not always the first to launch something, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that we are constantly trying to refine it and make it better. And we want to make sure that this is absolutely the groundbreaking product that it should be.
Excellent, great answer. All right, let's wrap it up. For integrators visiting your Sony's booth at CEDIA, what do they hope they leave with?
So what I hope you guys leave with is, Sony is here for you. We really work hard. My entire vision for the CI group within Sony is we're a big company, right? A really big company. And, oftentimes it can be a challenge for small business owners, which make up the majority of the CI channel, to navigate a big company. Our goal at CI is to really envelop you in support, whether it's our install support team, to help you when you have a challenge, whether it's our sales support team, Russell and Andrew and Kayvon, that are there to, help you figure out which lens you need and help you, put together a C-led proposal, do trainings for your team, things like that. To the sales team who make sure that you guys get the product that you need and prioritize, the stuff that, if we're short on something, we prioritize to make sure that you get it. for your job, because we know that we need to support our small integrators, because you guys are the ones that are really the foundation of our business. And so we work really hard to kind of make ourselves small, and make it a little bit easier to navigate with us. And so I hope that's the biggest thing that you get out of it, that we are integrated into the CI channel. We're not swooping in at the last minute and just trying to buy your business or anything like that, right? We are part of the channel, and we are here for the long haul in terms of making sure that the channel has a strong future.
Excellent. Kathleen, thanks very much. I appreciate it.